About a month ago, I covered industry plants that failed, artists that were obviously picked up by labels as an attempt to get in on a dying trend. But a lot of people wanted to see me talk about some successful industry plants, so I decided to do it. However, the issue with this topic is, depending on how you define it, really any artist signed to a label could be considered an industry plant. And in my last video, I had some pretty strict guidelines, but for this one, I'm just going to be looking at artists that a lot of people call industry plants, and we're going to see whether or not these accusations are true. Also, I just want to clarify a few things, make a couple of rules for this video. First of all, I don't dislike any of these artists and I don't use the term industry plant negatively. I think all of them make good music, but I also think it's really interesting to see how a lot of these people got their start in the music industry. And for the sake of this video, I'm going to use a much more broad definition of the term industry plant, and that definition is the one that Google promotes, which is artists who have only just started out in the industry, established a small fan base in the depths of SoundCloud or Bandcamp, and are then picked up by a major label and groomed to be a star. With this definition, a lot of artists could qualify as industry plants, and honestly a lot of popular artists could, which is why I'm not a huge fan of the term in the first place, because these days it's pretty rare for independent artists to just blow up completely organically. But I'll touch more on all of that later, so let's get into the video. In the comments under my last video, Ice Spice was probably the #1 person mentioned, with tons of people calling her an industry plant. And it's kind of understandable, seeing as how her huge rise came out of seemingly nowhere, so let's look into it. She didn't start rapping until 2021 when she was in college. During her freshman year of college, she met the producer Riot USA, and they eventually started making music together. However, before even making music, she first went viral on TikTok and Twitter for a video of her doing this TikTok trend. After that video went viral, she released her first ever song called Bully Freestyle in March of 2021, and she continued releasing music. She utilized TikTok to promote her music, and it definitely helped with the types of videos she was posting. Most of her early music was produced by Riot USA, and make sure to keep his name in mind going forward. Anyways, in August of 2022, Ice Spice released the song Munch, which, as we all know, absolutely blew up. It was released on World Star, and it was played on radio stations like Hot 97, and it was going majorly viral. Interestingly enough, before this song even released, Drake tapped in with Ice Spice and told her he was going to play her song on his radio station. The DM was supposedly leaked, but that has raised some suspicion from people who think it was intentionally leaked as some sort of label promo strategy. Drake also mentioned her On The Radar freestyle, which was a freestyle that she did with On The Radar Radio. And it is somewhat interesting how she was getting all these connects with media outlets before her major blow up, but it is also possible that they were just tapped in early and they were enjoying her music. Anyways, about a month after Munch released, Ice Spice signed a record deal with 10K Projects. Following her viral song, she released Bikini Bottom, her debut EP with the song In Her Mood, and then later released the song Boys a Liar Part 2 with Pink Pantheress. That's how I've been saying her name this whole time, Pink Pantheress. I don't know how you actually are supposed to say it, so let me know if I'm correct down below in the comments. More recently though, she released the song Princess Diana with Nicki Minaj, which also went crazy. So like I said, it is understandable why some people may see her as an industry plant because she just has been going insane recently, but she did sign after her viral song, so she can't be a plant, right? Well, after I did some digging, it's a little bit more complicated than that. There have been a lot of industry plant comments floating around about Ice Spice, but I haven't seen one with any actual proof. Most of it is just people hating, saying she probably slept with someone in the industry to get to where she did, but again, there is no evidence for that. If you look at the comments on YouTube videos or Reddit posts, it's just baseless accusations mixed with hate. But from the digging I did, I found a tinge of possibility that she is an industry plant. The producer Riot, who she worked with on the majority of her early music and most of her music in general, has some industry connections. He said his mom used to work in the music industry. I'm not sure what she did and if she still does, but he also said his dad is DJ Enough from Hot 97. DJ Enough is known for being Biggie's road DJ and also helped promote artists like 50 Cent, Kanye, and Future in their early careers. So with all the connections Ice Spice had early on, it is indeed possible she had some help from some people that she knew because of Riot. Especially since her marketing has been so amazing, it's either she's a genius when it comes to marketing her music, or she had some help behind the scenes. However, like I said, she did also sign after her original blow up. We also don't know who her parents are. She did say her dad was an underground rapper, so it is possible that they may have some connections there, but again, we just cannot say for sure. So, do I think that Ice Spice is an industry plant? Possibly. I wish I had a more clear answer, but there just is not enough information. I do think it's entirely possible she had some connections to help her get on World Star and other media outlets to promote her music, or it all could have happened organically because of TikTok. We've seen this more and more recently, so it is very possible. As far as I'm aware, there is not enough solid evidence to call her a plant, so please stop saying it so confidently online as if you know what you're talking about, because you very well could be wrong. Iann Dior is an artist that began blowing up like crazy in 2019 and has seen massive success since then. I've heard his verse with 24K Golden probably a million times in the grocery store I used to work at, so that's how you know you've made it. But because of his massive blow up, many people have accused him of being an industry plant, so much so that he named his first album Industry Plant. So, are the accusations true, or did Iann Dior just get very lucky? Well, let's look into it. Iann Dior began releasing music under both the names Lil Rock and Olmo in 2016. He said his first song received 10,000 plays and he decided to keep releasing music. He put out a ton of different songs and was even in a collective called Classic Kids. You can actually still find some of these old songs on YouTube to this day, and they are pretty decent, and you can tell that he has a really good voice and lots of potential. He even released a whole project called Dance with the Devil, I believe under his alias Lil Rock. You can still find videos of him talking about his music or with his friends and old tweets in the deep abyss of the internet.
End of the summer? End of the summer. Everybody's gonna know who Olmo is, I promise you. Everywhere.
Anyways, in 2019, after releasing a ton of music and making a few industry connections, Iann Dior was discovered by Internet Money, and they helped him with his image, changing his name from Olmo to Iann Dior. Supposedly, before this, he had around 300,000 plays total on SoundCloud. His old image was wiped from the internet, then he released a handful of songs, and his second song, Emotions, absolutely blew up, then the others followed suit. I remember around this time finding him when he only had a few songs out and a PNB Rock feature, and I was pretty surprised he had all these plays, a PNB Rock feature, and was just going that crazy with so few songs, but since I liked his music so much, I didn't really care enough to question it. After Iann Dior's explosive growth in his first month or so of releasing music, he immediately began getting called an industry plant. Someone spearheading the Iann Dior industry plant movement was a YouTuber named Progress, a guy who basically just covered artists who were industry plants. He made a video about Iann Dior which blew up and had tons of people talking about him being an industry plant. Progress pointed out how Iann Dior was a month into releasing music, had very few followers, and hardly had any plays on YouTube. However, he had hundreds of thousands of plays on SoundCloud, and all of his songs were on multiple promotional channels. On top of that, Iann was weirdly being heavily promoted by FaZe Clan and other affiliates of FaZe like Nelk and Alyssa Violet. The promo did seem a little bit fishy, but it is also possible they just really enjoyed his music. He pointed out that, like I said, he was working heavily with Internet Money, and 2 months into his career signed to 10K projects. This became such a big deal with all the accusations that Taz Taylor, the owner of Internet Money, had a very long beef with Progress, and Iann even named his first album Industry Plant. The reasoning behind this title was provided by Taz, who said, "If people want to focus on bullshit instead of the music so bad, we'll call ourselves it so you can't say it anymore, and you're forced to just take the music for what it is." And honestly, I thought this was a pretty decent plan, because if you're saying yourself, "Hey, I'm an industry plant, I don't really care, here's the music, listen to it," and then the music's really good, most people just won't care. To summarize everything in a simple sentence, Internet Money somehow found Iann early on, helped him develop his image and style, and then proceeded to blow him up and sign to a label. But if you're not familiar with Internet Money, that's exactly what they're known for. They find small artists with promising talent, so they help develop them and blow them up. They did it with Juice WRLD, Lil Tecca, Iann Dior, and recently have been working a lot with Dro Kenji. So like I said, Internet Money just found Iann really early and just kind of helped develop his style and his image, and then they helped blow him up. So do I think that Iann Dior is an industry plant? Well, by the definition that I provided for this video, yes. But do I think that he was talented enough to warrant the assistance of Internet Money? Of course. I love his music, so shout out to Iann Dior. So one of the biggest and most recent artists to receive industry plant accusations is Clairo. Following her breakout success with Pretty Girl and her massive success afterwards, it's pretty understandable why so many people think she's a plant. It also doesn't help that her dad is a fairly wealthy guy with connections to the music industry. But personally, I'm not so sure she's an industry plant, and here's why. So Clairo began making music at the age of 13, mostly just recording and performing cover songs. She continued posting covers and original songs on her SoundCloud, YouTube, and other platforms for a while. She put out multiple EPs throughout 2014, 15, and 16, slowly growing her fan base. She also posted YouTube videos of her playing music, and in the description for changing, she said, "Wow, just realized how many of you actually watch my YouTube videos. A lot of you have been asking where my other music is, and you can find it on my SoundCloud." So she clearly wasn't very known or very popular, and she definitely wasn't being marketed by a label. However, everything would change for Clairo when she released the song Pretty Girl. In 2017, it began to go viral, and she had a huge influx of fans that went back to check out her previous work. However, it was shortly after the massive success of Pretty Girl that people would begin to claim she was an industry plant. So people found out that Clairo's dad was a man named Geoff Cottrell, which I just learned is pronounced Jeff. How do you say Geoff? He's a marketer who had worked with Procter & Gamble, Coca-Cola, Starbucks, and Converse. He currently is the chief marketing officer at Topgolf. Because of his high positions, he's very obviously wealthy. He was even behind Converse Rubber Tracks, a project where Converse built a recording studio for musicians. Geoff Cottrell had some help from his good friend John Cohen. John Cohen is a man who is very well connected in the music industry. He's worked with Columbia Records and has done a lot in the industry, but he's probably most known for co-founding The Fader with Rob Stone. The Fader is a very well-known magazine that covers things like music and pop culture. They also have their own record label, which is where people took issue with Clairo. After the viral success of Pretty Girl, she signed to the Fader label, which made people think she had been with the label or abused her dad's connections to go viral. These accusations led to a ton of hate for Clairo for portraying herself as a DIY indie artist despite being backed by major labels. If you look at any Reddit post or YouTube video calling her plant, it's full of people saying they're disappointed and even some saying they don't want to listen to her music anymore. These industry plant accusations clearly and understandably upset her, so she denied all of them. But in reality, despite all of the claims that were made, Pretty Girl was actually made for an EP that was released by an indie label called Father Daughter Records. It was a song that was recorded on GarageBand with a very DIY music video that seemingly just caught the YouTube algorithm. On top of that, she signed after Pretty Girl went viral. She caught the attention of major labels like Capitol Records and Columbia Records, but decided to sign to an independent label ran by a family friend. The Fader label isn't even connected to any major labels aside from distribution. After signing to Fader, she has seen a ton of success and has multiple songs with hundreds of millions of plays. So I can understand why people may think she's a plant, but it does seem to me like her original blow up wasn't because of any label. I think she just got lucky with the YouTube algorithm. Sure, she may have had access to fancy equipment through her dad's wealth and worked with Converse Rubber Tracks, but she can clearly play an instrument and sing just fine without the help of any fancy equipment. Like I said, it was definitely easier for her to get in this position, but I don't think it was because of a label. Clairo herself even said in an interview with Rolling Stone, "I definitely am not blind to the fact that things have been easier for me than other people's experiences. It would be stupid of me not to acknowledge the privilege I had from the start to be able to sign somewhere where there's trust. To be able to sign a record deal that doesn't revolve around keeping myself afloat financially." So, do I think that Clairo's an industry plant? Probably not. Do I think she may have had it a little bit easier than your average bedroom pop artist? Sure. Also, real quick, want to mention that in my last industry plant video, I released some industry plant themed t-shirts to go along with it. So I'm making the website live again if you guys are interested in picking one up. Here are all the colorways. They're a high quality t-shirt. They're slim fit. The size chart is on the website. So make sure to check them out on www.mattyballs.com. I'll probably keep these live for a couple of weeks, so if you want to get one, make sure to check it out soon. And let's get back to the video. The Kid Laroi is an interesting case because most people probably found out about him because he toured with Juice WRLD, and following that he released a ton of huge hit songs. Due to his meteoric rise and his mysterious past, of course a lot of people began calling him an industry plant. In fact, his past is so mysterious that it has led to multiple YouTubers like Hello Yassine, Patrick CC, and Progress to thoroughly investigate his past career, which may provide some information relevant to whether or not he is a plant. So let's check it out. So the Kid Laroi originally started making music when he was just 12 years old. At first he was just recording raps on his mom's phone and putting them on SoundCloud, but then he met a guy named DJ Marcus Jr. who helped him out a ton in his early career. However, the Kid Laroi has avoided talking about or simply lied about his early career, which is what makes people think his come up is so fishy. One of the main claims that people contest is that the Kid Laroi was poor because his dad actually worked in the music industry. His name is Nick Howard, and he's a songwriter and producer who's worked with tons of popular artists like Jay-Z, Nelly, Fat Joe, and more. However, Laroi has said in a few interviews that he isn't really close to his dad, so it is possible that he didn't use his dad for connections, but it's also possible he lied. Anyways, while he was 12, he began working with DJ Marcus, who had a little bit of local buzz. Marcus provided recording and engineering services to Laroi because he thought Laroi had some promise. However, for some reason, Laroi always referred to Marcus as some dude or some guy in interviews. But they made a collective together called the Dream Team, and it was managed by Laroi's mom, and she was heavily promoting them on Facebook, which made it seem like she really wanted her son to become a huge artist. Hello Yassine, who did some insane research on this topic by the way, discovered that Laroi's mom was also friends with an extremely rich man who lived in LA named Eugenio Alonso. It seemed like this kind of undermined the narrative that Laroi was extremely poor. He could have been, but it just seems like there's some conflicting things going on with his story. Anyways, some information that wasn't in Yassine's video, I think it came out afterwards, is that a guy named Khalid Rohaim, a Grammy-nominated producer, saw Laroi at a studio when Laroi was just 12. Now, I have no idea how Laroi was getting into these studios with people like this when he was 12 years old with no money, but Khalid said he helped him out and was in the studio with him a lot. He was also possibly the guy who helped Laroi get his development deal with Sony in 2017 when Laroi was just 14 years old. However, back in 2016, Laroi was hit up by a guy named DJ Ziggy. Ziggy managed big Australian artists like Manu Crooks and wanted to manage and develop the Kid Laroi as well. This was around the time that Laroi had left his pal and producer Marcus in the dust. Then in 2018, he released his debut EP, 14 with a Dream, with collabs with artists like Manu Crooks and high quality production. Following these connections he got, he was seen posting snippets with Lil Skies, and he eventually signed to Grade A Productions in 2019. Grade A was Juice WRLD's record label, and Laroi even toured with Juice WRLD in 2018 and 2019, before most people even knew who he was. A lot of this information was revealed in Yassine's video, and what makes this situation even more fishy is that the Kid Laroi's team had Yassine's video taken down with a false copyright strike, as if they wanted to hide something. Regardless, it does seem like Laroi had some connections very early on. Following everything I just said, he started recording and stocking up on songs. He released hit after hit after hit and blew up super quickly with songs like Let Her Go, Diva, Addison Rae, and more. Following all that, he just continued blowing up, as we all know, so I probably don't really need to cover that too much. So based on everything I just said, do I think the Kid Laroi is an industry plant? Again, by our definition, yes. In 2016, a year into releasing music and still being relatively unknown, Laroi was picked up by people in the industry. Eventually, he received a development deal, and labels helped him prepare to blow up, like a label does. And this is again why I'm not a huge fan of this term, because in reality this is just how the music business is. They find artists early a lot of the time and sign them and then help them blow up. That's the whole point of signing to a label, or at least one of the points. But in my opinion, what makes Laroi's case in particular so interesting is how mysterious his background is and how he's kind of lied or covered up things about his past. So Billie Eilish is another person who has received industry plant accusations after her massive success and rise to fame. But her come up is actually a lot less hidden than any other artist on this list, so let's check it out. So Billie Eilish, whose real name is Billie Eilish Pirate Baird O'Connell, Pirate's pretty cool I think for a middle name, she began making music when she was 13. Her brother Phineas, who was already in the industry, he was in a band and making his own music, helped her make all of her music as well. They recorded a couple of songs and put them on SoundCloud for fun, but everything changed when they made the song Ocean Eyes, which was released on SoundCloud like others, but this time it got hundreds of thousands of plays. Following this, Phineas's manager hit him up to talk about Billie's potential, and then a few months later in 2016 they helped Billie sign a deal with Platoon that was kind of like a development deal. They helped her make her image, made a music video for Ocean Eyes, and released a much more professional song called 6 Feet Under later that year. Following that, she signed to Interscope Records, not even a full year after releasing Ocean Eyes, and of course after that, she released a ton of music and absolutely blew up over the next couple of years. So obviously this already looks pretty plantish, especially with our definition, but now let's take a look into her family. Her dad, Patrick O'Connell, was an actor who played mostly minor roles in a handful of movies, TV shows, and video games. Her mom, Maggie Baird, is an actress and teacher who also had a handful of decent roles throughout her career. Both of her parents also used to make music, and right now they still help her a ton with her career. And her brother Phineas is a successful singer, songwriter, producer, and actor. Like I said, he was the one who first apparently got Billie her industry connections, which led to her eventually blowing up. His band, The Slightlies, was also fairly successful, and they played the Warped Tour in 2015. Following that and his work with Billie, he's also become much more known. So, do I think Billie Eilish is an industry plant? Yes, I do. She's been pretty open about her early career, and it's pretty obvious that she had a much easier time than most independent artists do. However, again, I want to clarify, because you gotta clarify everything. I don't think this takes away from her music or her talent or her songs, and also I actually really enjoy Phineas's music, so it's really cool that there's like a little brother-sister dynamic duo going on. They're both really good. So this will probably be my last industry plant related video, because again, I'm not a huge fan of the term, and I hope if you guys take away anything from this video at all, it's that we should probably just retire it. The term industry plant isn't very useful, and the music industry is very complex. It's really hard to tell what's organic or inorganic, so I think we should just take the music for what it is. Obviously, it's a different story if someone's in a predatory deal or something like that, but you don't have to be an industry plant to have a predatory record deal. Also, I never really promote my other social medias on here, so real quick, I just want to shout out to my Twitter and my Instagram. You should follow me on there. I post probably the best things you'll ever see in your life ever. So yeah, make sure to check those out. You can get updates on videos, whatever. We can DM, we can chat about music, we can have a good time, have a conversation. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, make sure to leave a like. Other than that though, this has been Matty Balls, and I'll see you guys next time.